Well, hey guys, Backyard Scrapping here, and welcome to part 3 of our refine. As you can see, I've got you saw in the end of the last video, I was prepping these processors up and getting them ready for acid. I'm actually going to use these two 4,000 ml flasks that were graciously donated by Man Mountain Link. I really appreciated that because these little boogers are not cheap. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about here is before we get outside to the acid, I'm getting a lot of questions about different things, and there's a lot when I do my videos that we kind of skip over. In fact, most that do their videos kind of skip over some things, and that's simply because it's long, tedious, and boring. But I am going to go into a little bit more depth of like even discussing the processors, how they're put together, there's so many questions about things. I mean, like the main question I get all the time is, what am I going to get? If I send you this, what am I going to get? And this is what I want to talk about here. Before we get outside and get into the acid and the dissolving and all the fun stuff, I want to explain a few things and why. And again, a lot of this is my opinion. It's what I was taught. It's how I learned how to do it. We're going to break out the scope. And we're going to look at some of these different processors, and I want to show there's a few things that I want to show you why you really can't answer that question. It's only a guess. When when somebody, well, what am I going to get out of this? It's always just a best guess. That's all it can be, because there are so many variations. Just like we found, like I said earlier, I have never come across aluminum bond wires. Well, every one of these Pentium processors and one of the fact that bigger processor that had the heavy gold back on it had aluminum bond wires, not gold. So I want to show you a few things under the scope, a few things that I do know about in case you're ever processing these, or you get your hands on different types of ceramic processors. So we're going to go over that in this video, and then we're going to get outside and get this stuff dissolving. But anyway, let me get the camera off the stand, because I want to show you a few things, and then we're going to hook up the laptop and we're going to look at some stuff under the scope. So I'll be right back at you. Okay guys, I got the camera down, as you can see, and I have some things here I want to show you. The very first thing I'm going to talk about here is the question of what am I going to get, or what is stuff going to yield. And this is why you cannot answer that, I mean, with any certainty. You can, like I said, you can make a best guess. Alright, but all these processors, all these Pentium processors, and even one of the nicer processors, you can see how they really stand out right here. The aluminum bond wires. Now this is a 486. I can't move it around like that because it's broke up when I took the cap off, but you can barely see those, those gold bond wires against the gold flashing or gold plating in the back. But they're there. Now those are gold bond wires. So obviously, the aluminum ones are very easy to spot. Like I said, I was surprised when I saw that, because I apparently have been extremely lucky, especially from hearing from, a few other people in the comments, that they've even gotten Pentium Pros that have aluminum bond wires. And I mean, even the jobs I've done and the stuff, I haven't had tons, maybe a few kilos is about all I've ever, processed. This is actually not the biggest ceramic job that I've done, but it's, it ranks up there. Here, you can see, I want to show you what that is. See that little pile? Okay. That is the aluminum bond wires that came out of all those ceramics. That came out of all this. That's the aluminum bond wires. So right off the bat, if that was gold, of course we're going to get a different yield than we would if we were processing exactly the same processors, that had gold bond wires. So that's why, I mean, really, until you break into something, get into it and do it, there's absolutely no way of knowing what you're going to get. But you can see that is, and when they're gold, they're 24 karat, they're pure gold. So that would be a pretty nice little stack of gold right there. I mean, even though it's fluffed up because they're little bond wires, it's still a nice little stack of gold there. Also earlier, I showed you that I made a little wooden tool to scrape these out. Well, I found that that would have taken me a lifetime. So I actually went out and got a stiffer bristle brush. And you can just go like this back and forth a few times and it knocks those bond wires right out. Another thing I wanted to mention, I believe it was Scrapman50 said that you can just, you can do a acid wash on them, which is very true. It's easy, it's fast. The hydrochloric acid will eat that aluminum alive. There are reasons I do what I do. And a lot of it is because you still have to deal with this stuff after the fact. One thing I really don't like dealing with is aluminum in solution. I mean, it's hard to get it back out. It's and why put, I mean, so it took me 15-20 minutes to do this, but that aluminum's not going to be in my acid, which means I don't have to worry about getting it back out of my acid or dealing with it, because it's not going to ever be in there in the first place. Not to say that there's not specks of it and there's this or that, but for the most part, yeah, that's good. If you're in a hurry, if you're fast, if you need to get something done, yeah, that's going to work really well. And it won't take, seconds. I mean, that hydrochloric acid, will eat up that aluminum like lightning. But once again, now you have aluminum in solution and you got to deal with it in your cleanup. And I don't want to deal with that. I prefer to get rid of as much crap as I possibly can right in the beginning, so that I'm not having to deal with it in the end. And as far as, when we get down to refining the gold, or you still have to clean up your solutions. You got to keep that in mind. You cannot just, do this stuff and dump the solutions down the drain. It's not, it's not that kind of stuff. You have got to clean up your mess before you get rid of this stuff. So anyway, I wanted to show you that. I'm going to break out the scope and I'm going to show you a few things that I know about processors. I've had a lot of people ask me questions or send me emails, and you see it a lot online, and there's a big controversy about, is there gold inside the ceramic? And why do we break them up? So I'm going to go over that with you guys, but let me get the laptop set up and get the scope out so I can show you some things up close. So we will be back at you in just a bit. Oh, hey, one more thing, guys, just before we get to the looking at the scope. I didn't show this, and I probably haven't ever even showed it or even mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in the last video. But the processors, you saw me clean them. I cleaned them really good, but they still, sometimes have a film on them or a little grease on them. And being that there were so many this time, usually if there's a dozen, 2 dozen, something like that, I'll just run a torch over them real quick, to burn them off. But there was 80 or 90 of these things, 100 just about when you count the other processors, these other guys. And so I have a little oven out in the lab that I actually dry my silver in. What I did was I just have a dish, like a baking dish, and I put all these in a baking dish. These I didn't. These I'm going to hit with a torch because I saved them out to, because I wanted to show you some things on them. But the rest of them, I just put them in a baking dish and cranked it up full blast and left them in there for about an hour just to make sure to clean them up real good. Then we broke them little boogers up, and they're all in here. There's a bunch of laptops I got to take apart yet, but anyway, so I did want to mention that because we are, I'm trying to go through each step with this, and I forget a lot of times. I mean, it's stuff, when you do this over and over and over, you just do it and it's second nature, and you don't think about, yeah, I said I cleaned them up, and then somebody said, well, you never said how you clean them up. So anyway, that's what the process is. And like I said, these I'll hit them with a torch right quick, with a little blazer torch or something like that, and just clean them up again. Alrighty, guys, let's get on to the laptop and the scope, and I want to just quickly show you. I'll go as quick as I can, show you some of the, the wires and some of the stuff I wanted to discuss with you. So we're going to get on over there right now. Okay, guys, we got our laptop set up and our camera, and I'm just going to, like I said, go over a few things. I know we showed you some stuff with the scope in the last video, but I wanted to show you the gold bond wires, and I also wanted to show you those aluminum ones close up, and just more or less go over some stuff about these processors and the questions that you get on them. But the first thing I want to do is I want to show this little, this is a regular Pentium, and that's the one that had, you can see it has, I can get it where I can get it focused. I'm still working on using this thing. I got to get used to it. But as you can see, those are very, very easy to see. And here's another thing, and another reason that you can't just go by, okay, I got a stack of these Pentium processors, what am I going to get out of them? Alright, this is another Pentium. It's exactly the same, got the same markings, but look at the difference in the size of the die. And there's a difference in the plating. So yeah, granted, that's only a little bit of an amount, but if if it's enough that it's going to make a difference. See, now I don't know, I believe this would be probably a faster processor than this one just because of the size of the die, but again, on the back they're both just Pentiums. They're just the Intel Pentiums. And then you move into something where you've got, this is a Pentium MMX, which is a little bit different, but it's got the same size die, or almost the same size die as this Pentium does. But again, too, you can see real easily, you can see those bond wires. What I wanted to show you here, this was a 486. Now this has a great big chip, but you see those bond wires? They kind of blend right in. So when you crack your, or use your torch or whatever to remove your cap, or however you choose to do it, there's no right or wrong way. It's whatever you want to do. Nobody says you have to use a torch and remove them like that, and nobody says you got to smack them like I do, so it doesn't really make any difference. It's just however you choose to do it. But you see how you can't hardly even see those wires because they're blending right into that gold flashing or that plating. A lot of times too, what people don't realize is that's just a plating. The way these, another question I'm going to go into right quick is there gold in the ceramic? To the best of my knowledge, no. From everything I've ever read, I mean, there's arguments on the web about it, but there's a couple good sources, and from the construction, from the way these are built, in other words, the way these are made, it's called, I've actually got some notes over here because I wanted to have something to reference so I can explain this to you, but it's called HTCC method, which is high temperature co-fired ceramic. And the fellow that posted this seems to know what he's talking about. I've broken a lot of these, and I've looked at them with a lens and put them under the scope, and I don't see any gold in there. And he says what it is it's a tungsten, manganese, whatever, but it's like a printed thing, and these are made in layers, and they layer that stuff up on top of it, and then naturally they fire it and fuse it all together. But the only place that there's wire or bond wires on these is here. In other words, right in these where you're connecting the die to the plate itself. So, and like I said, I've looked, and from his explanation and what he says, I kind of agree with that. This is the same thing. This is an AMD, and I mean, you can look, we can really pull it down tight and look, and I see no speckles, nothing in there, nothing shiny in the side of this, which, I mean, you can see it in a in a BGA chip, you can see it in a flat pack, you can see it in any other chip. When you crack it open, you can see the gold, you can see the wires, and I see nothing in this. And this was an AMD processor, by the way. So I have, you're going to miss some. You're going to miss some of this. No matter what you do, we always miss some. I don't care how good you are. If you keep all these, all the fragments and everything, and you redo it again, you're going to get some more gold. This stuff, no matter how hard it seems, it's still porous. So it's going to even soak up some of your fluid. You know what I mean? Some of your aqua regia. When you've got it in aqua regia, it's going to soak some of that up. Well, that's going to have gold in it. So, I mean, if you keep those and keep it until you got tons and tons of them, you're going to get some more gold. But it's not going to be from inside the ceramic. Most of it is going to be from the surface or stuff that you missed. I'm a firm believer in that. Again, that's my opinion. It's also the opinion of several others that do this pretty much for a living. You know, I mean, they should know they do it for a living. This, I'm going to hold up in front of the camera again. The reason for breaking these, all right, which I'm going to show you right now. They all say, well, why do you break them up? What do you hammer them up for? Well, number one, so they'll fit in the flask. That's number one. But number two is, if you think about something, and you've got these two flat processors here, right? And they are stacked up on top of each other inside that flask. As this dissolves, they're going to stick together. There's going to be nothing separating them. So this is all going to get covered up by this other one, basically by this one laying down on top of it. So by hammering them up into irregular shaped pieces, you get an effect, you know, of the different pieces and broken pieces holding the other pieces up, which allow the acid to get to everything. That's what I was told by old man David, who taught me how to do this stuff. He also believed that there was no gold in the ceramics itself. I don't know why. I haven't done any research on this. This is the plates that came off of the 486s and a couple of the others. He always did these separate in a little jar. Therefore, that's how I do it. I mean, like I said, that's how I was taught. I don't know if there's a specific reason for it. It's just how he did it. Okay, one more thing I wanted to go over in this. I know this is probably already getting long. I try to keep the videos, to 20, 25 minutes. And I know everybody's anxious to get outside, but I wanted to go over this with you and explain it because, those are a lot of the questions. What am I going to get? Is this, should I save this? Should I save that? Okay, when I broke this one, it broke just right, and I broke it with the wires in it. So you could see the wires, how they're still there. But what I wanted you to see was where the die was. Okay, now these are the regular pentiums. Okay, and even in the 486s, underneath, you see that's just nothing. There's no gold there. There's gold around the edge, but there's no gold underneath. The Pentium Pros, the Pentium Pro processors, and I think I went over this when I did a few Pentium Pros a while back. You need to heat this die up, and you need to take it. That's another thing. If you don't, a lot of this is trial and error. A lot of it you're going to learn, what to do and what not to do as you do it. So anything you can find out or anything you can read or anything you can learn that's going to help you along that way is going to be good. It's going to save you time and it's going to save you money. Well, under the Pentium Pro dies, in other words, under here is a solid gold plate. And if you don't know that and you just hammer them up, these dies are going to stay stuck. They're going to stay stuck to that backing in the little pieces that break up, and you're not going to get that gold out from under it. It's very hard. And I don't remember how long ago, but you can go back and check in a couple videos back, probably several videos back, where I did some Pentium Pros for somebody, and you can see where I took the torch and I heated these up, heated these little guys up here and took them off, because underneath the die in the Pentium Pro there is gold. Now on these there's not, so it's not necessary. Anyhow, guys, I wanted to go over that with you. Like I said, I don't know how long we are into this. It may be 15 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and just post this video as it is and then get a fresh start outside with the acid. But I hope this helps answer some questions. I am trying to go, a little more in depth on this one because I got a lot of people saying that they would really like to see the entire process. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you is I wanted to show you these bond wires close up. But that's all the little bond wires, the little massive bond wires that came out of those processors. And like I said, you don't have to do it the way I do it. I look at it from a standpoint of what have I got to do to finish this out? What do I have to do to finish this project? Well, just recovering the gold and just recovering the stuff is not finishing the project. If you're going to finish this project, and one day we'll go through cleaning solutions. I've showed that, and that's a process that's very boring. I mean, I distill my hydrochloric acid back out of my solutions. You can drop the copper out with whatever, but I actually bring it down to like a copper 2 or copper 1 dust, and I save up that dust, and I actually have a friend that I give it to, and what he does with it, I don't know, but he does something with it. The guy's way above my pay grade. But anyhow, there are processes along the way that don't just involve getting metal, the precious metal out. You still have to take care of your solutions. You got to drop your coppers back out, or get your acids back out, or neutralize your acids. And I don't want to deal with aluminum in my acid. You know, I just don't want to do that. I don't like messing with that kind of stuff. So to me, there it is. That's a little bit, yeah, and it's a little bit of aluminum, but it's a little bit of aluminum that would have been in my acid that's going to go in my big batch in my waste bucket till I process my waste bucket, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So it's going to add up. But, alright guys, I'm going to quit babbling in your ear. Like I said, I wanted to explain a little bit about, you know, the process of how these are made, the opinions of what I call the pros out there that really seem to know what they're doing, you know, and back it up with, you know, their research and their study. I mean, apparently this person either made these or knows the process of how, you know, exactly how they're made and pressed and put together and heated and all that. So there's no gold inside them. It's tungsten. There's no wires inside the ceramic. And like I said, I'm not going to get in arguments with anybody about that. That's what I believe. I've always been taught that. That's what the person who taught me believed, and there's research to back it up. So, guys, I'm going to get out of here, and we're going to get to work on this stuff outside and get that video out to you. So we will see you all in the next video.
I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.